CNBC-TV18 presents Crypto Corner, powered by CoinDCX.
Well, as promised, let's focus to the crypto space now. And Bart Smith, who is CEO at Avalanche Treasury company, now joins us on the show. Bart, hi, thank you so much for joining. And I do understand on why Avalanche created Avalanche Treasury company. But what is the goal right now, and what are you looking to raise from here on in sense of collaborations and monies, and how is it functioning right now?
So we just announced our initial financing also with the plans to do a business combination with a SPAC, Mountain Lakes Acquisition Corp. If everything goes with our regulatory filings, that will combine in the first quarter. Something in today's valuation, something close to $675 million, with our goal to continue to grow that number over time. Through a myriad of different types of capital market activities.
Oh, well, absolutely. Lots happening there. But how are you looking at overall market? Because we've seen a big surge in 2025, which seems to be like a defining year right now. How are you looking at the kind of interest, investments, plans, and how are you looking at the technology growing from here?
So there's a couple of different facets that go into this. Obviously, the most encouraging has been the regulatory climate in the U.S. The regulatory climate in the U.S. for the previous call it 5 or so years made it very difficult for entrepreneurs and people within the digital asset space to grow companies, get capital from the public markets in a way that would help them grow. This more recent regulatory climate with the passing of Genius Act and just broader reform as it pertains to cryptocurrencies in the U.S. has given businesses the green light that it is okay now to move forward with plans to implement this technology into their businesses to make them faster and more efficient. Having worked in the digital asset world for over a decade, I've been following Avalanche very closely. I feel like this blockchain in particular is poised to benefit more than any other blockchain in this business adoption, not just in the United States, but globally.
But when we talk about the global markets, well, yes, there is a surge, but would you call it uneven? Because some countries have done a surge, pause, and then growth, even for that matter. How are you looking at it growing forward from here? Because when you talk about the capital markets, financial markets, the real world asset tokenization really seems to be building up right now.
I mean, I think it's really, really early still. I think people have been talking about cryptocurrencies for a long time. I think most of the historical enthusiasm around cryptocurrencies was about kind of their potential. And while it's still about potential, you're seeing implementation in real time now, where you're seeing real business use cases. So you don't have to talk in theoreticals. Avalanche, as an example, is working with FIFA to help them in their 2026 World Cup ticketing and fan engagement. Avalanche is building today and working with KKR and Apollo in private credit, working with big banks and asset managers like JP Morgan and WisdomTree. So I think what we're seeing now is the early stages of implementation, where you're going to see real world value creation from implementing these blockchain technologies into businesses and having that value drive down to the token, not just on optimism of future enthusiasm, but real world business occurring and the revenue of that driving down to the token.
Oh, well, absolutely, Bart, from FIFA to capital markets and, of course, tokenization as well. You talked about regulations, and U.S. has come out with the Genius Act, which clearly seems to be picking up. Other countries are also looking at. Do you see better adoption, better institutional reach going forward, and how would you look at the growth coming in from these segments?
It's a great question. One of the difficulties in digital assets achieving their goals over the last 5 years was not just a lack of regulatory clarity in the U.S. It was really in all of the major money centers, right? You whether it was in India or in Singapore or in Hong Kong, you see regulations that at one point were very welcoming to digital assets, and then something happened and they switched 180 degrees in the other direction, and made it more restrictive. So it's very hard for businesses to plan about their growth and where they want to position themselves. What money centers and what city hubs do they want to be able to build their businesses in without that clarity. What you're seeing now is that these different countries are now talking with one another to collaborate on their, not only on their regulations for their citizens and for their country, but how that interlocks with other regulatory regimes around the world. So when you have different parts of the world, the Chinese government has kind of been maybe more isolated, but you're seeing in Europe and the United States in particular, they are collaborating on their different regulatory approaches towards digital currencies. That's giving businesses the comfort to invest in certain cities for growth. And I think that the countries that are clearest about their regulations and them being constructive to businesses are poised to win and to garner human capital that in a competitive landscape with all these other cities.
And Bart, finally, where do you see the next adoption coming from? We've not just seen the crypto enthusiasts, but also retail get in, institutions are partnering, even mutual funds and bigger names coming into forte now. Where would you see the next adoption, the next growth for crypto and blockchain coming from?
I mean, a tremendous amount of the growth that's already occurred this year, and I believe will be a major driver over the course of the coming years is stablecoins. Right, cross-border remittance, moving fiat around the world is a very clunky. It's a very expensive business, and it's not terribly efficient. You have a lot of costs in transfer of currencies, and money kind of gets caught up in transfer in ways that is not an efficient use of that capital. Stablecoins allow counterparties to exchange monetary value at very low costs and almost instantaneously. And so I think that you're seeing the growth of stablecoins, and you're now seeing certain companies like Stripe and Visa and banks all around the world that are understanding that the business model for moving monetary value, fiat or otherwise, around the world is changing very fast, and the people who adopt more quickly to this opportunity, I think, are going to be the winners.
All right, so it's going to be about cross-border remittances and, as you said, stable coins and even institutional adoption, two things to watch out for in the years to come. But thank you so much for joining in. And with that, that's all the time that we have on this segment. But let's chip into a short break. When we come back, we'll talk more about markets and stock specifics on the other side.
CNBC-TV18 presents Crypto Corner, powered by CoinDCX.